Are the monks' precepts binding for life? Palanyani?
Yes, there are. When the monk stays in robe for life, as long as one is in robes, they are binding. As soon as the robes are off, they're of course not binding anymore.
Yeah, the other thing to note is that there's no God that's going to come down and punish you if you break them. And in fact, some of them are not even immoral. So an arahant, an enlightened being, can break certain rules. There's, I believe there's stories, I'm not sure. There are stories of arahants who were the ones who were the first person to break the rule. An arahant,
There are some.
An arahant who spent the night with a woman alone in a room because she tricked him. And so he stayed there and he taught her the Dhamma and she became Sotapanna. And the Buddha said, oh no, don't stay alone with a woman because people will say bad things. But as far as arahants actually breaking a rule that was already established, I actually can't think of any instances, but theoretically it's possible. One could imagine an example of an arahant breaking the rule. They're community guidelines, I guess you could say, and they are binding. But if you break one, you just confess it, or if it's a serious rule, you undergo penance, or if it's a major rule, you are no longer a monk. And people have said that if you break one of the major rules, one of these, the serious defeat rules, then in that life you can never become enlightened. But it's actually not. Has no basis in the Buddhist, in the canon, in the Buddhist scriptures. Mahasi Sayadaw talks about this. He says, then I can't remember what it was, but he was talking about he was talking about something else, but then he mentions about the parajika, the defeat offenses, that there's a story in the commentaries about this group of monks who did something. I can't remember what they did. They committed some kind of parajika offense, maybe stealing, and they disrobed and became samanera, became novices, because they could never ordain again. That's one of the rules. If you've committed one of these offenses, you're not allowed to ordain again. If as a monk you stole something worth more than a certain amount, then you can't ordain again. But they ordained as novices and became sotapanna in that lifetime. So they're not like they're binding in the sense that you're expected to keep them, but they're many of them are not even immoral to break them, like eating in the afternoon, for example. If a person is sitting down and thinks it's 11 o'clock, and then they eat some food, and then they find out, oh, it's actually 12 o'clock, then they've technically broken a rule, but they may not be at all guilty of any irreverence because they thought they were keeping the rule. That's an example.
Means, I mean, of course, the parajikas and then the heavy rules, the sangha disesas, they are better to keep because it's very difficult to deal with it when you break them. But all the other rules are kind of helping in the holy life, and I think they come out of compassion and made out of compassion.
So he's asking now, in what sense are they binding? If someone breaks them, who enforces that? Who holds them responsible? Is that the Sangha? I'll answer to start that one ultimately holds oneself accountable. There was this monk, he was teaching us about the precepts, all the new monks. I'm not sure why I was sitting in there. The new monks were studying basic Dhamma, and I was trying to get the basic Dhamma exams because in Thailand, in order to become the head monk of a monastery, you have to pass these exams. It was a total joke. they did a little bit of studying, and then on the exam day, their teacher came in and gave them all the answers. So we're sitting there. This has no relation to what we're talking about, but it's a funny story, so I'll tell it. We're sitting there, and they're all asking, "What is jhana?" Or no, what are the 5 sorts of uttari manusa dhamma? And then the guy's telling, "What this is this this. What is this? What is that?" Sorry, at the beginning of the exam, the head monk had come in and he said, "Okay, no ducharita," which means don't do no cheating, basically. The ducharit means no cheating. It means no evil acts, but in this context it means no cheating. No cheating now, and then no ducharit, and then he goes out. And so they're all asking, "What's this, what's that?" And they're all giving each other the answers. And suddenly I pipe up, I say, "What is ducharit?" Because obviously this one monk in front of me, he turns around and he's going to give me the answer. I said, I was just joking. But the point actually came a lot earlier when we're in this class, and the teacher he's talking about how the precepts. He's talking about breaking them, and he says, here's an example. Suppose I was in my room, and he looks at me, and I don't know why he looks at me, but he starts saying to me, "And what do you think, Noah? Suppose I'm," and I say, "Suppose, no, I'm not. You think I actually do something like this. Suppose I go to my fridge and I pull out a salad at 9 o'clock at night, and I eat the salad, totally clean it out, clean the styrofoam off, put it in a plastic bag, tie it up, and put it at the bottom of my garbage bin." And he said, "No one knows that I broke the rule." And he says, "Or do they?" He said, "Who knows about it? Who knows that I broke the rule?" That's the answer. Some people are saying devas will know. It's true, they may know. There are devas who could know. There are also people with magical powers who could know. But in the end, you know. And if you're breaking the rules, you're the one who has to live with it. This is what we were talking about yesterday in the study course, that our good and bad deeds are the things that follow us around, and when we're alone we have to think about them. And that's ultimately the best teacher. That's what helps you to keep the rules. So when I was a young monk, in Thailand many monks will not keep the rules, and so they will do things like that. I would go up to the school and the novices are up there at 9 in the evening frying up fish or something. A flagrant violation of monastic rules, but it became quite common. And so I broke some of them, not the eating one, but there were many, drinking soya milk in the evening, for example. But eventually it weighs down on you, and you read the Buddha's teaching, and you can see that this is not something that is of any benefit, and it's actually a means of degrading the Buddha's teaching, degrading the purity of the Buddha Sasana. The Buddha said, or one of the commentaries says, that the Vinaya is the lifeblood of the Sasana. Vinaya is what keeps the Dhamma alive. Vinaya is the precepts, the ethics, is the protection for the Buddha's teaching. And you can see this most clearly. You can see this in terms of money, because those monks who begin to touch money, and even though it may come as a surprise, but the majority of monastics out there do carry money around with them. And for some of them it's not a problem. For some of them they will be able to deport themselves in a way and use the money in such a way that it doesn't defile their mind, and they're doing great things with it. And you've got to admire the fact that they're doing good things. That being the case, even those pure and great monks, if you look at the monasteries that they live in, surrounded by monks who also touch money, who are not so pure, it's easy to see how this rule, even though it's only a concept, is incredibly important. Because though certain monks may not be attached to the money, they begin to attract monks who are attached to the money. And of course new monks won't have that ability to let go. And those monks who have some corruption in their mind will be encouraged to develop that corruption. And eventually the monastery, if the teacher especially is very pure and becomes very famous, the monastery will become full of monks who are opportunists. The corruption becomes rife, and it becomes a very difficult place to practice the Buddha's teaching, practice meditation. You learn a lot from it about human defilements and so on, but it's quite sad on the other hand to see the breakdown of the monastic community as a result of not keeping the rules. I wish I could remember. There's like 10 reasons. The Buddha gave 10 reasons for the Vinaya, and I'm not well versed. It's not something that I've memorized. I've read it several times, but it's this sort of thing. The bad monks are unable to get into power. Good monks are able to live in comfort and at ease. It suppresses the defilements of the individual monks. It gives faith to the lay people. It gives faith to people who don't have faith when they see these people practicing, in great discipline. Those people who have faith, their faith is preserved, because when you break the rules, obviously it's easy for people to lose faith and lose interest in the Buddha's teaching when they see people all corrupt, and so on and so on. And I think the last one is that it's a protection for the Dhamma. So many reasons for keeping them, and those are really, I think, what holds you accountable, is that you can see the results of keeping them and the results of breaking them.